Welcome to Good Morning Uganda Agenda. I'm Robert Chirabo, but that is in case you've just joined, because we are here from 6:30. The fantastic four, the great men and women behind the cameras, not forgetting the technical team that ensures we come to you live every weekday. I cannot forget to thank those people. They do a great job so that we come straight to you wherever you are. In your hotel room, at home, in your bedroom, those that are watching us through various social media platforms, thank you very much. Now, today I'm going to be discussing issues of money. I love money, and I know you love money, be honest. But we are looking at issues of money in unity. And when I talk about issues of money in unity, now you know I'm talking about the cooperative movement. And we want to look at SACCOS in community transformation. And a case this time you're having the teachers SACCO in Uganda. Now, teachers have had a number of challenges, but they have also been able to move through many or overcome a number of these challenges because of the Mwalimu Cooperative Union, a teachers SACCO, those on the government payroll, that came together and they are able to improve their livelihoods and better live through this SACCO. First, join me welcome my guests. I have Mr. Cooperatives. He happens to be the General Secretary, Uganda Cooperative Alliance, but the other name is Mr. Cooperatives, and none other than Ivan Asimwe, a man who is very passionate. When he speaks about cooperatives, I'm sure you're going to see that he speaks from the bottom of his heart, and he pours out the language, the love for cooperatives. Most welcome.
Thank you so much, moderator, and good morning, all our viewers. Pleasure to be here.
Have cooperatives become a religion to you?
I am telling you, I'm part and parcel of it. You cannot separate us.
You cannot separate
No.
it. Then I'll go to my extreme end, where I have Okecho Paul from Mwalimu SACCO or Mwalimu Cooperative Union. Paul, you're most welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure to be here and inform the teacher fraternity that there is a fund for you and you can make it through the scope of the country. Thank you.
That is very interesting. There is a fund for you and you can make it through this fund. Now, I will go direct to SACCOS in transformation of communities. Now, I'll begin with the GS. When you talk about SACCOS, this has been around for some time. And at one time, I remember almost every government minister, RDC, would go to communities and tell them, form SACCO, there is money for you. Form a SACCO, there is money for you. However, whether this was right or wrong, I put the ball in your hands.
Thank you so much, Mr. Moderator. And as usual, Ivan Asimwe, the General Secretary of Uganda Cooperative Alliance, which is the overall apex body for registered cooperative societies, inclusive of SACCOS. Now, a SACCO is a savings and credit cooperative organization. In other words, it's a financial cooperative because we have so many types and forms of cooperatives. So you talk about the financial cooperatives, these are savings and credit cooperative organizations. You talk about agriculture, production and marketing, energy cooperatives, transport cooperatives, housing cooperatives, energy, health and others. There are so many, and in the country currently we have over 45,000 registered cooperative societies serving over 18 million Ugandans. This is the largest constituency. Like my friend will talk about teachers. Teachers are so many in the whole country. Now, you talk about SACCOS, the history. They began a long time ago, around 1840s there, globally. Why? Because people realized that they needed to save. Save little, get some credit, and continue to move. And they started in Europe. Then in Africa here, as Father John was a Catholic priest from Ireland. So as he was in Ghana, he established or he started the savings scheme because him being from Ireland and having gone to Canada for his studies, he's found out that in Canada, people were having the saving schemes, especially for the retirement fund. Then he came and introduced the same idea in Ghana. And then, since then, you see the whole model spreading across Africa. Now in Uganda here, around 1970 there, because of the economic crisis during the time of President Idi Amin, when there was economic crisis, then especially people within the urban centers in Kampala here, they sat down and started thinking of the saving schemes, the alternatives, because the banks ideally were not helping them. Most of them had even collapsed, including the Bank of India. So eventually, they formed the saving schemes that later became savings and credit, and formed UKUSCU, which is a union, Uganda Cooperative Savings and Credit Union, in 1972. Now, since then, we see SACCOS moving on. Now, in the 1990s, around 1995, 96, 97 there, the government of Uganda, UNDP, Uganda Cooperative Alliance had gone to Bangladesh, and they studied the village bank model. The village bank model was the other side, that people within a certain village would have a saving scheme. For them, they were calling them banks. So when they came here, they said, this model works very good. With the support of government and UNDP, they started rolling out the model in the country. That is why you find these old bigger SACCOS initially were called village banks. For me, the time I entered, 15th of March 2003, the SACCOS were called village banks. Rubabo was called Rubabo Village Bank, not SACCO. Then issues came up with the central bank. The central bank said, no, you are not allowed to use the word bank unless you are regulated. So the name immediately changed from village banks to savings and credit cooperative organizations. So for people who just go there and start talking about SACCOS, you need to read the history. What is the originality? Who started this model? Why was this model started? Now, the model that you see was using in 1990s is far different from what the politicians use. You see the model of cooperatives, you don't need to tell Chirabo that you form and I give you money. That's not a cooperative. That is something different. What you are supposed to do is community sensitization. You teach the people for them to know that yes, there is a problem, or there is an opportunity. Take an example of teachers. If you are to look at the number of teachers in this country and take a study on who have access to affordable and appropriate finance, I'm very careful with those words, appropriate and affordable finance. We have commercial banks and MFIs, but the challenge we have in the country is access to affordable and appropriate finance. The cost of borrowing is very high, and even the money you get is not appropriate. In other words, it is not in tandem with the gestation period of most of our businesses. You get money today, you are growing coffee, where you are supposed to harvest after 3 years, but next month in September, you first pay, you are paying the first installment. The question is, where are you expecting to get this installment? So it is not appropriate. So based on that, then communities started asking questions. So what do we do? We have realized we don't have money, we don't have... one time I was here telling you, people like my father did not have any accounts in the banks, and they were businessmen. They were just keeping money under the mattresses. You even get metallic boxes, which is very risky. Someone just comes and carries. But it was very hard for him to move from where he was up to the town, let's say in Mbarara, to go and bank money. So ideally now, based on that gap, this village bank model came in, and the cooperatives, the communities themselves initiated it, not you telling them. You just
give them a sense.
Yes.
Now here I want to bring in...
Let them understand.
Okay, having given us a very rich background
Yes.
To the SACCOS, and I believe my viewer now has the right information on formation and why this is very important. Now, Okecho, first of all, let my viewer know more when it comes to the Mwalimu SACCO, because it is our case study this morning. What is this? Who are the membership? You know, who joins?
Thank you very much. By name is Kecho Paul. I'm here under the capacity of Walimu Cooperative Union. This is a presidential fund that was put in place to enhance teachers' salaries. We remember way back in 2013, there was a strike. So the only way it would happen was that there was a fund that was put in place by the president. And we give thanks to His Excellency, the President of Uganda, for supporting teachers. So this fund was put to enhance teachers' salaries, or to enhance projects that would give them incomes to continue with life. So one of the things that has really kept Walimu moving on is that we fund the biggest population, employed population in the country. That is the teacher fraternity. And it being that we cannot leave them behind in terms of development, Walimu has come in place to bridge that gap. We all know how much a teacher earns.
Not we all, but we know what teachers.
Okay, thank you. And this fund was put in place to bridge the gap. One is, we all know that we have needs, and we cannot fulfill these needs with only salary. We all know that we have personal ambitions, and this is the fund to fulfill that. We all know that as the teacher fraternity, we need to be together. I'll give an example of Wazalendo. They have strictly moved themselves from the population and they have formed their own SACCO. I'll move to police. They are trying to do the same. Why don't we as teachers do the same? We are here as a country. We are here to grow this country. Besides growing the country, we should grow ourselves. Yes, thank you.
Now, when you talk about the teachers, this is a presidential fund, help us understand. Because listening to Ivan's definition of a SACCO, okay, you kind of speak like you want the teachers to be part of this SACCO, yet I'm aware it's already there. Okay, sure. Let's understand properly. Now, when you got this money, is when you formed the SACCO. Was the SACCO there before?
Okay, let me
Is it teacher owned? Because the SACCO has principles.
Yes.
Do we have all the fundamental principles of a SACCO, of a cooperative in here?
Yes, that is true. One is the fund was not first in place before Walimu. Walimu, through UNATU, came in place. Now, when this fund, let me give the background. When this fund was put in place, they had to look for who would manage it. Of course, proposals were on ground that one is let microfinance manage it. Still, we the teachers came and said no. If we are the teachers, we can also manage this money. Then through still UNATU, the union, we formed UNATU SACCO. But because of the magnitude of the money, we are talking about 25 billion shillings. Because of the magnitude of the money, we said no. Under the capacity of a SACCO, this cannot be managed. Can we form a secondary cooperative? That is how Walimu Cooperative came in. Now, Walimu Cooperative, at first, we have changed names because of reasons that I will give. But the most recent one was Walimu SACCOS Union. Now, as the name reads, Walimu SACCOS Union, we were funding SACCOS. What would happen was that through the formality of a SACCO, of having members having shares, registering with the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives, and you have that certificate, either it is permanent or So we would advance money through SACCOS. Now, this is how initially SACCOS would request for this money. One is you have your members. Members come up with projects, because we're talking about transformation of communities. Members come up with projects. Now, these projects are put in paper that I want to keep piggery, or I want to start up a piggery thing, kind of. So you bring it on board, we look through it. Now, these SACCOS would bring members with projects. Others say, I want to start up a shop, which is okay because we're looking for income generating projects. Some say, I want to start up piggery. Some say, I want to rear goats. What we would do next was to send out a team to sensitize these members that in line with what you want to start, you know how we start up businesses. We look at a friend is doing very well in poultry, and you also start. You don't know the background checks and the background activity behind it, because you have to buy maize for feeding them, you have to, and these things are costly. So we told them, we had first sensitized them, that was the first step, before we advanced this money. So if there are 50 teachers, and the projects they want to start totals up to 50, let us say Teacher Paul wants to start up poultry of 1 million, Teacher Isaac wants to start up a shop of 1 million, we put that amount, sum up that amount, maybe probably there are 50, that is around 50 million if each
wants a million
shillings. Then we advance this money to the SACCO, where these teachers belong. They receive this fund of 50 million. Now, what the executive, because they are the ones who run the SACCO, what the executives do is to also advance. They are not supposed to hold cash. You're not supposed to go to the bank and withdraw this money. No. You're supposed to advance this money to the next or the beneficiary person who is starting this project. And we are all aware everyone has an account. So this is supposed to be channeled through the accounts.
Very interesting. They're trying to understand how Mwalimu SACCO here is benefiting and transforming lives of teachers, most of those, or strictly for those on government payroll, in public institutions.
No, not
because I need that clarification.
Not really only government payroll. We are actually even extending this fund to private teachers.
Oh, now
we are looking at the teacher fraternity.
Because previously, I think there was I remember during COVID when the president promised teachers in private schools money, and they were discussing who is going to handle it. Someone said, but the teachers, there's Mwalimu SACCO. No, that is for those in public institutions. For us, we are in the private, so it doesn't work for us that way. But it's nice to hear that it's an open door.
Maybe if you can allow me to...
Definitely.
If you can allow me to come in and make a rejoinder in submission. You know, Walimu Cooperative Union is a union of secondary nature. And that's why we are here, because Walimu Cooperative Union, by law, it's a member of Uganda Cooperative Alliance. Because Uganda Cooperative Alliance being the apex body, when you go to law, an apex means the cooperative whose membership is restricted to secondary and tertiary only. So, Walimu, the teachers' SACCOS cannot be members of UCA by law. They affiliate to a union, which is now Walimu. Then Walimu affiliates to Uganda Cooperative Alliance, which is the apex. Then Uganda Cooperative Alliance affiliates to International Cooperative Alliance, which is the overall global apex for all cooperatives in the whole world. That is the structure. Now, why was it formed? The teachers, through their primary societies, now these are SACCOS, they searched together and formed a tertiary, which is Walimu Cooperative Union. And why did they form it? Because you are looking at bigger volumes, you are looking at growing vertically. Now, why the president comes in. Of course, now as teachers, having formed their SACCOS, they needed loanable funds. They needed capital. Because you see, when you have just started, you don't have enough capital. And this is why you find most of these SACCOS going to commercial banks to borrow so that they get enough money to own land to their members. So here, the president comes in, and we appreciate him for this fund. So this is not free money. It's a revolving fund that was put in the union in order for these SACCOS to be able to borrow and own land to their members. So it doesn't distort the cooperative model. The cooperative model downwards, the teachers themselves initiated and formed their own SACCOS in order to access affordable and appropriate finance. But because they need a lot of capital, then the president realizes if they go on and borrow from these commercial banks, the interest rate is very high. And yet he's looking at SACCOS providing affordable and appropriate finance to the teachers. So he now creates this fund which is revolving. SACCO A borrows, gives to the teachers, they pay back, they again pay back to Warimu, then it continues like that. So that is the model, that is how it is working. And we really appreciate the government for this initiative. I was just doing some simple mathematics here. And fortunately, as explained, that the fund is not only targeting government employees, all teachers, as long as you're a teacher, nursery, primary, secondary, university, everybody, all these are teachers. Now, if you are to look at the number of teachers in this country, I don't know the number, but just take an estimate of 200,000. If every teacher contributed 100,000 per month, it means in 1 month they are contributing 20 billion per month. That's a lot of money. Every year, 240 billion. It means that the teachers in this country have the capacity to form their own bank within 1 year. And this is now taking me back to my definition of poor. Passing on opportunities repeatedly. You can imagine your teachers in the whole country, but every month you are donating money to these other banks that you don't own. Now, all your money that you donate to them is thrown out of the country and you remain struggling. So this is high time. I call upon Africans, we need to wake up. We are tired of donating our own wealth. And at the end of the day, when you have donated your wealth, unfortunately they call you a beggar. Why would you donate your wealth? Instead of appreciating you, then the other people say, Africans are beggars, they are poor. Africa is not poor. The poverty is the mind, not God gave us everything. I think God, if you are to really describe him, he must be an African. Because he gave Africa everything. Good soils, very fertile soils, very good weather, very intelligent people. Everything is okay. But the problem of Africa is donating wealth to the whites. Just imagine 240 billion per year is what you can contribute. Because in Uganda here, you only need 150 billion as minimum capital requirement to start a bank. So meaning that we would be having banks for teachers. Now these are SACCOS. And this is where they are heading. Because now that you have the Walimu, eventually this is where they are heading. They can remain SACCOS, but they even start and own a bank. We can have a bank for the army, a bank for the farmers, a bank for every category of people. Because once you do not control the financial sector in an economy, you have a problem. There is no economy that can be progressive, that can be sustainable when the citizenry is not in charge of the financial sector. Because it plays a very critical role. Now we are calling upon government. You see, government created the agricultural credit facility for the farmers. But this money is idle in commercial banks. Now, when you look at the policy says a regulated financial institution can actually access this money. So
now
what
that is an open ticket.
Yes, open ticket. Now the SACCOS are already regulated. So why doesn't the government now channel this money from commercial banks to SACCOS? And that is where now also teachers would access this money and every category of people. So in other words, what I'm trying to explain is that as we stand today, cooperatives are no longer for the poor and the illiterates. No, cooperatives are for those people who believe that enough is enough.
Now this takes me back to Okecho. He's talked about the values and the importance. Yes, true, you have the monies there. His Excellency gave you, Mwalimu Saka has been around for some time. He talked about the army having a bank. I must say Wazalendo has a bank. Because
it's the largest SACCO in the country.
Largest SACCO. I've escorted people there. I've seen principal line up, everything transparent. And even when you enter into their offices, they have just at our neighbors here. You see a bank. People, these guys are banking. These guys are withdrawing. And you're like, okay, this is the strength. And they have now even gone into real estate, by the way. Real estate, that was Zalendo. I think they're also in manufacturing, water or something like that. So Uzima. So it's really a very big cooperative. But how have the teachers embraced what is theirs? Because for the military, maybe one will say either it is mandatory or something like that. But the teacher fraternity, how are they embracing the Mwalimu Sacco?
Thank you very much. I want to talk about being, let me say, being a spokesperson. When we talk about UPDF, they have strictly one spokesperson. When we talk about police, they have strictly one spokesperson. When we come to teachers, we are all spokesperson. That's where we come in. We are saying that, can we also organize ourselves as teachers? Can we also have one apex that sends our views to? Because when we talk as a crowd, all we shall see is probably tear gas and that. But when we have one apex or one spokesperson talking on behalf of teachers, we really benefit. I want to get back to the young population who may not know what a cooperative is. One is a SACCO. Way back in the village as I was growing, we used to have a case, a metallic case. When it started with the treasurer keeping the metallic case and the key. And the money disappears. And when we're growing up, we knew they ran to Busoga. That is how we knew that, oh, so-and-so stole the SACCO's money and ran to Busoga. So with the inclusion of banks, actually we can form a bank. Now that is where the mindset change comes in. Once we have changed the minds of our teachers that let's embrace our own. It is the biggest challenge we have as Africa, as a continent. That, I'll give an example. That if I have a friend who has opened up a shop, instead of going to support this friend like any other customer, you want to go and support at a free cost. You want someone to give you something at a free cost. And yet you're giving to other people that you even don't know at a more cost. That means the other fraternity is benefiting. We as teachers, we need to embrace our own. We have Walimu that is giving you the cheapest credit or the cheapest funding. That's why we don't, when we bring in the aspect of we give you loans, it changes the whole, the whole picture. We give you credit. Now, this credit is supposed to help you grow. Now, this credit was given to teachers. The 25 billion, when we cascade it down that, okay, let's give it to every teacher. Let's divide the 25 billion by probably 150,000 teachers. You're going to find every teacher is going to get 1,000. That is where the revolving part of it comes in. That when we give you this money, go use it, bring it back. Let's give it to another teacher. Let that teacher also use it and bring it back. Embracing SACCOS has been a challenge because of its challenges also. One is that members have lost their savings through cooperative model. The other one is that people still think that we save for Christmas. You find that at the end of the year, that is when there is a lot of pressure for people to pay back these internal loans that they borrowed. Reason being, we want to enjoy Christmas. Let's remove that perception and let's change the minds of Ugandans, not only teachers, but the whole country. If we embrace SACCOS, trust me, we shall get rid of the banks and we become the banks ourselves.
Thank you so much for that, that we shall become the banks ourselves and get rid of the banks. Not that banks do us bad, but the truth is building what is yours is very different from building or contributing to the strength of a business of another person. A bank of a particular circle, it is a member's bank. Last year, Ivan gave me very good news of a cooperative bank. I don't know how far they have gone, but I hope this year it doesn't come to an end when there isn't something seriously tangible for the cooperators, because they are eager and we are eager waiting for that.
You know, Mr. Chirabo, he talked about the issue of banks. You know, if the viewers, we are not saying that banks are bad. Banks are good, and they have really done a good job in the country. But we are talking about ownership and control. This is mine. If you go back to Europe, Europe is built on cooperatives. They use cooperativism as a model for development. But when you come to Africa, they use capitalism. We have now moved to capitalism. And the capitalism here meaning you are exploiting majority poor as an individual. Now what they do, they bring their banks here. But the question is, how many of the banks here are in the hands and the control of the citizens? Now, what do we need to do to liberate ourselves economically? We need to have our own banks, our own financial institutions, like it is in Kenya. The Cooperative Bank of Kenya, by last year December, its net worth was 607 billion Kenyan shillings, an equivalent of 17.6 trillion Ugandan shillings, purely owned by Kenyans. It's their bank.
The cooperators in Kenya.
The cooperators themselves having their own bank. So we are not, there are other banks in Kenya. But the citizens coming up together like the teachers would do, the army would do, and others. Kenya, if you went there, the Mwalimu SACCO Union is very big for teachers. Very big, huge one. Now, if you went to Netherlands, the farmers themselves have their own bank, which is Rabobank. And its net worth by last year, December, was 614 billion US dollars, an equivalent of 2,500 trillion Ugandan shillings. So what do we mean here? Can Ugandans also mobilize ourselves and own our own financial institutions? Not saying that we don't want this. No, we want them. They are part and parcel of us. But can we own? Like now, they move to the cooperative bank.
Yes.
Once you have like these teachers mobilized and having money, you have the army, you have the farmers, together you capitalize your own bank. A bank that will come in to address the needs of your people. Not a bank that is going there to look at profits, but rather focus on the needs of the members. So this is where we are heading. Teachers, I want to call upon all teachers in the whole country. Now that you are lucky the president created a fund for you to access affordable and appropriate finance, take advantage of it and move forward. You know, a president is not going to come to a parish level and give free money. For him, it is what he has done is enough. Creating that enabling environment, creating that fund, and then you, the teachers, organizing yourselves, and you tap into this opportunity, grow yourselves. Accountants, I'm an accountant, a member of ICPAU. One day we were here at Hotel Africana, and we for our trainings quarterly. So during that training, I really I was not happy with the accountants. And I trickled them, accountants. No accountant is poor. Accountants are rich. And I asked them, where is your money? They all looked at me. The money is there, the other. Now, for all you people who are keeping money in these banks, who has ever been invited to attend an AGM for this bank? Nobody. Who has ever received the dividend from these banks? Nobody. Now what do? We need to start our own. And we started Accountant SACCO. It's now a huge SACCO. The army, you see, Wazalendo. The police, Exodus. The parliamentary SACCO, just here next to us. The farmers, they have very huge SACCOs. So now what is needed in the country is coming up with a real bank that supports the citizens in different aspects. And this is where we are heading. You asked about the cooperative bank. Consultations were done. All Ugandans agree that we need a bank. Now where we are heading is a real study, a comprehensive study. First of all, know what happened previously. How do you do it better for the future? This is where we are. So I want to call upon not only teachers, all professions, the engineers, you the journalists. I don't know. Let me ask you, where do you keep your money? You're always here hosting me. Where do you keep your money? In the bank. In the bank. Have you ever been invited for an AGM, to attend an AGM of a bank? Where you keep your money? Never. Have you ever checked on your statement and you find a credit of a dividend? So why did you go to school?
I went to school, I'm here.
I'm sorry for that. But we are asking ourselves as Ugandans, then why did I go to school to get a degree, a master's, a whichever, to speak English or to understand and make money and move forward and develop this country?
Well, I told you this man, when it comes to speaking about cooperatives, he's a preacher of a gospel called cooperative and cooperative movements. And he believes that this is one of the things that will transform the lives of Ugandans if only we join various cooperatives in our sector. And I think this is what also government is looking at. Because when you look at all government initiatives aimed at poverty alleviation, they are moving on the cooperative model. Talk about parish development model, talk about Emyoga, youth livelihood. Still there's that element of cooperatives.
And we thank government for all these initiatives. All the initiatives you have mentioned plus others, the government has tried. What is needed now is me and you to change the mindset. Ugandans are so complicated. And when you come to the land, it now becomes a bit complex. You know, one time I was here and I was talking. Someone says, Ivan, you are talking about cooperatives. Cooperatives don't work. I said, you go to Europe. Go to France. The largest financial cooperative in the world is in France. France is in Europe. The second one is also in France. You go to Germany. Germany has cooperative banks that have formed an association. Go to Netherlands. Go to Norway. Go to everywhere. Go to America, USA, Canada, Brazil. Go to Asia Pacific. Go to South Korea. South Korea is ahead. Go to Malaysia. Go to everywhere. Economies worldwide have progressed because people, the citizens themselves, organize themselves, mobilize their resources, skills and knowledge, and develop the economy. That is the way to go.
That's the way to go. I have
a
catch on set, and surely, and surely, the Mwalimu SACCO is represented here. Passionate Ivan. Sometimes you have to give him a stop when it comes to cooperatives, but he has to drive also points home at the same time. Now, Okecho, looking at the Mwalimu SACCO, what is the membership like so far?
So far we have 385 SACCOs, with 185 already funded because of the criteria that we take. One is that they should be having projects. We are not just going to give out money to people who don't have what the president has always called vision. Now, back to how I'd started. We started as Walimu SACCOS Union, only giving funds to SACCOS. We later on realized that that model was not much working, because we are trying to reach out to the tail end, the teacher down there, whether hurt by the SACCO or not. So we amended our name to Walimu Cooperative Union, including our products. So we classified our products into class 1 and class 2. The class 1 are those that are still affiliated to a SACCO and are still receiving funds. The class 2 are now those teachers that were hurt by a specific SACCO, be it maybe their savings was eaten, I need to use that word, or be it that they got fed up or the SACCO collapsed. So that's where the class 2 come in, that this teacher who is not affiliated to a SACCO can still actually come for funding, because we are trying to enhance income in the home. You know, for credit, they will always tell you that when you're borrowing money, the one principle is that you borrow money, the installment that you're using for paying back, should the money that remains after you've paid back should be able to take care of your family. That is the bottom line of credit. Should be able to take care of your family. So when you're paying back a loan with other financial institutions, and the affordability is beyond what you even can afford, then we are not doing credit. So still back to class 2, we extend this credit to these teachers. One is not only teachers that are on still service, including those that have retired.
Oh.
Yes. Now we are extending it even to support staff. Because let's talk about a DEO. A DEO was once a teacher. Yes, just joining. A DEO was once a teacher, and he too should benefit. Besides just being the DEO, we are trying to extend the cooperative model way beyond that. And finally, the other thing that we are, since we were formed because of a need, we are forming another product that is in the process. It is called edu financing. We all know what edu financing is. I don't need to explain it so much. That we are financing teachers who are going for further studies. We got very scared when we saw on papers.
A degree is a must.
A must, and you will be fined if you don't have it. So we came with a product to help our teachers, that we can actually pay for you tuition in any university that you're going to upgrade. So we are addressing the needs of the teachers.
Well, thank you so much, Okecho, and allow me give each of you now a minute to wind up. And let me begin with Ivan. A minute, please.
Thank you so much, moderator. I want to call upon all Ugandans to embrace the cooperative model. It's the only model that is going to liberate us economically, socially, and culturally. And specifically teachers. Now that we are lucky, the president gave an opportunity and created this fund for you to be able to access affordable and appropriate finance. Take advantage of it, develop yourselves. Think of your retirement. You come, save in your SACCO, access credit, develop, and start paying in installments. This is the way to go as a country. I want to thank UBC. I want to thank everyone, the viewers. Thank you so much for always being with us.
And Okecho, in a minute, please.
Yes, in a minute. Every time I get such opportunity in the air, I want to really sensitize the teacher fraternity that Walimu Cooperative Union is here to help, be it socially, mentally. We are talking about health. I moved with an insurance card here that we give to teachers as a package for medical with St. Catherine, and all these services are available. Just reach out to us. We are located in Chuatu Lenabe Road, You can go to the website for phone contacts. We shall surely receive you and address your needs. Thank you.
Well, you make me wish I was a teacher with a marine SACCO, because there is medical, almost it's looking at every aspect of life. And I hope that it continues having success. You know, sometimes you get bothered when things seem to be moving on very well, and then you hear issues arising. But I believe with the guidance of Uganda Co-operative Alliance, these are things that we shall overcome. Teachers there is an opportunity for you to financially, economically grow, but also the packages, the edu you've talked about, the health insurance, and many others. Well, I'll end here because Ruben must come with sports updates, but I'll return later in the next hour. Good morning.